Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Jessica. I am a junior in psychology and Hispanic studies double major. Thank you for coming to the artistic and scholarly sessions titled The Liberal Arts in the 21st Century, Spotlight on Collaborative Engagement. The format we have chosen today is called a lightning talk, which is a short, engaging presentation with faculty, staff, and student participation. We will now hear from Dr. Gearhart, Elyse, Sana Sheffield, and Lisa Mishra at the Crossroads, Anthropology, Interfaith, and Experiential Learning.
How does engaging religious diversity contribute to a student's understanding of democratic citizenship and life in a global society? What is the value of experiential learning for this development? Why does providing students an opportunity to reflect on their own beliefs and worldviews matter? Questions matter. And we live in a world that rarely tolerates long-lived, wrestled-with questions. And yet this is exactly what global understanding requires and our liberal arts education invites. Rebecca and I have worked together since fall 2001 to create programming that we hope contributes to students' ability to ask and live these questions.
After hearing stories about my friend Alida Lakota's visit to the Rosebud Indian Reservation with Tree of Life Ministries, I asked Elyse if she thought Rosebud might be a good location for an alternative spring break trip. The Tree of Life's mission to nurture the body, strengthen the culture, and enhance the spirit resonated with the 2013 course cluster theme, Unraveling Inequality, and we established the following learning goals for the trip. To foster connections between IWU students, faculty, and staff participants, and the Lakota people living and working at Rosebud. To create a supportive environment that encourages cross-cultural communication and sharing between participants and members of the Rosebud community. To learn more about Lakota culture, values, traditions, and contemporary life ways. To heighten our awareness about the challenges the Lakota people face today, and to share our talents and resources with the Lakota people in the ways that serve them best. When we conducted research on life at Rosebud, we discovered that the average life expectancy among the 9,000 residents who live there is 47 years, compared to 77 nationwide, and one less than 48 years. We also learned that unemployment rates range from 65 to 80%, and diabetes, alcoholism, and suicide are at epidemic levels. We knew we had to prepare ourselves and our students for the challenges that Rosebud residents face, but we also anticipated the many rewarding aspects of interacting with the Lakota people and hearing their personal stories.
Alternative break programs grow every year. Some are coordinated by university offices, others are completely student-led through RSOs. All receive at least some funding support from Student Senate, and all require collaborative effort. As chaplain, I'm responsible for coordinating at least one of these per year, and I seek opportunities for national service that allow me to partner across campus and that align with the university's commitments to diversity, justice, and sustainability. Tree of Life fit that bill. Tree of Life is a Methodist relief agency with an interfaith mission. Founded in the 80s to be a ministry of reconciliation and service for and with the Lakota people. It takes its name from an image found in both Christian and Lakota sacred texts. In the book of Revelation, the writer describes the tree of life, whose leaves are for the healing of nations. And Black Elk has said this, but where this black road of difficulties crosses the good red road of spirit, that place is very holy, and there springs the tree of life. For those who look upon the tree, it shall fill with leaves and blooms and singing birds, and it shall shield them as a prairie hen shields her chickens. Such an image offers a foundation for friendship, and retrieving such images is central to interfaith work. But they are not ends in themselves. Our trip required an honest confrontation with the ways many Christians have planted trees not of life, but of death, and had been sources not of healing, but of destruction among Lakota. In the past, Lakota families received their government rations of flour, sugar, and oil only only after attending church. Today, a welcome place welcomes everyone. And for $1, anyone can sit down for a hot meal, get a bag of groceries, enjoy the hospitality of Lakota staff and student volunteers. At Tree of Life, home repair is both service and reconciliation work and has fostered mutual trust and respect. According to the agency, over 50% of the homes on Rosebud's emergency repair list were repaired by Tree of Life. Student installed vinyl underpinning, a kitchen sink and counter, floor work, and got to know both the Lakota staff and residents. We also worked in a thrift store, played Lakota hand games, ate Lakota-inspired meals, talked about public health with a physician from the Indian Health Service, and made traditional Lakota spirit dogs. This was an immersion week of service and interfaith engagement.
During our stay at Rosebud, we were able to meet with Dwayne Hollow-Hornbear, a chief and professor of foundational studies at Wesleyan University at Rosebud, which incorporates Lakota language, history, science, philosophy, and culture, and in many ways resembles IWU's general education program, but is focused on the Lakota liberal arts. Chief Hollow-Hornbear arranged a campus tour for us that was led by a group of university students, one of whom was the crowned Rosebud Princess, a powwow tradition that recognizes a young woman who has demonstrated knowledge of cultural traditions and has earned the respect of community elders. The pride these students had of their university and the hopes and dreams they shared about their futures was very uplifting to us. By the time they had toured us through all the buildings and grounds and escorted us to the buffalo herd that lives on campus, they had infected us with their optimism. Chief Hollow-Hornbear gave us a private lecture on Lakota cosmology and then welcomed us to his Lakota language class. In those sessions, we learned of the Lakota understanding of the four-leggeds and the wingeds and the creepy crawlers and the swimmers and the plant people and the rock people and the star people, and that Natakaway Uyasin means we are all related. Our internet action with Chief Hollow-Hornbear and his wife Elyse came full circle when the two visited IW during May term 2 months later. Chief Hollow-Hornbear gave a campus lecture on Lakota environmental ethics, visited my Native Americans in the environment class, and shared a meal with our alternative spring break group at Elyse's house.
My time at Rosebud can be largely split into two categories: interacting with our Lakota hosts and learning about Lakota religion. Every day in Rosebud consisted of some small encounter with Lakota religion, which informed my views about Native traditions once I returned to campus. Perhaps some of the most marginalized people in our country, the Lakota have been regularly stripped of the right to their own narrative. When we were in Rosebud, the most critical lesson I learned was about agency. I learned what it means to give people the freedom to narrate their own story. Our society often makes the error of overgeneralizing about Native traditions. They are treated as relics of centuries past rather than living and thriving cultures. One common mistake is considering all Native religious practice to be the same. At Rosebud, we have the fortune of learning about Lakota religion directly from the source. An elderly woman named Caroline told us briefly about the boarding schools and the cultural erasure of the 20th century. It was here that I first learned how little agency has been given to Native people regarding their own identities. Boarding schools, of course, were created to assimilate Native American youth into Euro-American society by forcibly removing all traces of Native tradition. Extensive language and spiritual loss occurred from the late 19th century until the American Indian Religious Freedom Act in 1973, in large part due to these schools. Our host, Chief Dwayne Hollow-Hornbear, himself had to be taught his language and religion in later life for this reason. Despite this, he played a large role in increasing our understanding. We first sat in on a lecture he gave students about Lakota star knowledge and how deeply intertwined astronomy is with religious practice. On another night, Dwayne invited us to participate in a traditional Lakota Iniki ceremony, or sweat lodge. The sweat lodge was performed in 4 rounds, each a set of lengthy prayers, delivered in the Lakota language. Under extreme temperatures, the chief and his aides performed each ritual meticulously. As the temperatures rose, so did the vigor with which they chanted and sang. The ceremony was distinctly Oglala Lakota, with Dwayne explaining every movement as they continued. After witnessing such thriving practices, it is hard to imagine why we continually delegitimize Native traditions. They are specific, vibrant, and far from forgotten. I still talk about my time at Rosebud, and I still read over the diary entries from almost 2 years ago. I wrote about these experiences when I returned to campus, about the notion of agency and lack thereof. I was able to provide insight on cultural erasure, legitimacy, and appropriation in a sociological context. Opportunities like these allow students to immerse themselves fully in the lives and experiences of others. Being invited to participate directly in someone's life is an honor, one that informs us educationally, personally, and beyond.
Rebecca and I intend to return with students to Rosebud. Inspired by that trip, we've also looked for ways to offer experiential learning on campus that engages religious diversity and interfaith cooperation, connects with this year's Nations Divided theme, and invites collaboration with classes, RSOs, and student leadership programs. The program soon emerged, Intersections, a walking exploration of contemporary religious practices. Now, we love lectures, but we wanted more than a talk. We wanted to create a space that would allow students to learn, and if they chose, to participate in the very practices being described. Because Eid al-Adha, the Islamic Feast of Sacrifice, was held in late September, we selected it as the first walking tradition to explore. Since this 3-day festival occurs at the conclusion of the annual Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca, which includes several reenactments that entail walking between famous sites, we invited someone who had been on Hajj to share his experiences of these rituals.
It is no secret that Islam is an underrepresented tradition on Illinois Wesleyan's campus. The creation of Intersections provided an opportunity for Muslim students to celebrate the second most important Islamic holiday with faculty, staff, students, and members of the Bloomington Roman community. Eid al-Adha is a beautiful time of the year when I dress up, attend morning prayer with the Muslim community at home, laugh with loved ones, feast on delicious home-cooked Indian meals, and distribute the sacrificed goat meat to relatives and close family friends. A common tradition in some families is to take a trip to a farm and personally sacrifice a goat in the name of Allah. My way of celebrating Eid on a predominantly Christian campus looks a lot different than it does celebrating at home. I can empathize with my peers who felt disappointed they were unable to have time off from school to celebrate Easter Sunday with their families. In recent years, I have started my mornings with texts from friends and family members wishing me a happy Eid. I then dress up in American clothes, quickly pray in my dorm room, and continue with my day. Intersections was a way for the handful of Muslims on campus to celebrate this holiday in a setting outside of their dorm room and share the meaning behind the celebration. The Eid dinner on campus brought to light the supportive community away from home. It was also the perfect way to publicly announce the revival of Illinois Wesleyan's Muslim Student Association chapter. Majority of the attendees at the dinner were not of the Islamic faith, but they were very interested in the group. The mission statement, a part of it, is a place to learn and to be educated about Islam, as well as interact with students from various backgrounds. Initially, it was challenging to move to a campus with demographics that did not align with the area I grew up. Lonely and frustrated are some of the words that come to mind when I think back to how I might describe my first year on campus. Those emotions gradually faded as I found my support system, which currently consists of faculty, staff, and friends from a variety of backgrounds. I have been able to share pieces of my identity, as well as learn about cultures I have not had the opportunity to be exposed to prior to college.
Why does providing students opportunities to reflect on and share their beliefs matter? Because these beliefs are part of a whole person, and the liberal arts is called to teach and support the whole person. institutional commitment to religious diversity matters. Our dinner of pretty delicious Sodexo-prepared halal food created a space for Muslims and non-Muslims alike to celebrate a meal and to learn about a religious tradition that in our day is often powerfully misrepresented.
In November, we offered our second event in the series by exploring Walking the Red Road, a Lakota philosophy of life to commemorate Native American Heritage Month. We worked with students from IW Interfaith and the Multi-Faith Ambassadors to create a Lakota medicine meal in the Young Main Lounge. We invited Reverend Carol Lakota Easton, a Methodist minister, and her sister Alita, an art therapist by training, and the one who accompanied us on the alternative spring break trip to lead us on our journey. We created a station at each of the 4 directions to represent the Lakota medicine meal. North, as it is associated with air, was symbolized by feathers, which we painted. East, as associated with fire, was symbolized by tobacco, which we made into prayer ties. South, as it is associated with earth, was symbolized by stones, which we meditated on. West is associated with water, which we symbolized with essential oils with which we anointed ourselves. And at the center, which we associated with our interior selves, was where we decorated walking sticks to take on our journeys of self-discovery. Reverend Carol explained that the Red Road is a spiritual path that requires one to pay attention to the signs Creator passes along to us in nature through rocks, animals, plants, and the gifts they offer to us, such as feathers and branches. Tobacco, sweetgrass, sage, and cedar are the 4 sacred substances used in Lakota ceremonies. Tobacco is used in pipe ceremonies, the holiest form of prayer. And when a pinch is prayed over and tied into a piece of cloth in a sacred manner, it serves as a power object that can be kept or given away. Both Carol and Alita have used the Red Road metaphor in their work with people looking for meaning in life. Walking the Red Road means that one has decided to strive for self-actualization and live up to one's full potential. The Lakota believe that all beings and powers in the universe are poised to keep each person on the Red Road. Learning to read the signs that direct one to remain on the path is what the journey is all about.
And so this week, a few days ago, we hosted the 3rd event of this series, Walking the Labyrinth, a religious practice old and new. We partnered with First Presbyterian in Normal, whose Canvas Labyrinth was set up in the main lounge, and Multi-Faith Ambassador Karen Matkovich prepared a presentation on the history of labyrinths and their current use in congregations and healthcare settings. We drew the curtains and dimmed the lights, turned on Gregorian chant, and for a brief time created a space of reflection and meditation, a floor above the greasy fun of Wings Wednesday. By 11 a.m., nearly 30 people had arrived, ready to hear about these stone, grass, dirt, tile, and pebble-made mazes, designed not to confuse or dead end, but to take a person round on a journey to the center and back again. Labyrinths are thousands of years old, and Christians have adopted these paths as a tool for reflection and renewal. Pilgrimages to Jerusalem, Mount Sinai, and other biblical sites were common in early Christianity. Pilgrims like Egeria in 4th century Spain kept journals of their travels. Her journal has guided pilgrims, including me, to these sites where walking where the Israelites or Jesus walked is a source of inspiration. Pilgrimages, though, became more difficult as time progressed, and some cathedrals, like the one in Chartres, France, used labyrinths to provide a spiritual, symbolic walk to the New Jerusalem. Since then, labyrinth walking has been a spiritual tool found and lost and found again. They are found on church lawns and hospital gardens. They're maintained by Roman Catholics, Presbyterians, Lutherans, Methodists, Episcopalians, Unitarians alike. They are an ecumenical sign of hospitality in an all too often inhospitable world. Following Karen's presentation, Carol Cashian from First Presbyterian introduced us to the ways we could walk the labyrinth, and most students did. I love the space that we created that day, and I'm excited to hear from Rebecca how her students in her health and healing class made connections between this experience and their class readings. Anthropology, which seeks to understand and interpret the global range of human experience, intersects with the chapel's commitment to multi-faith engagement. These crossroads where cultures, religions, faculty and staff, students and communities meet provide fertile places for living questions about diversity and justice in our world today.
So what's next? Well, we will host our intersections, the last one, in this May term, when Uma Kalakuri, an Indian classical dance guru and a leader of our local Hindu community, and members of the South Asian Student Association, lead us in a workshop that explores the trope of the journey in Hindu mythology. And next year, Elyse and I hope to collaborate on a series that resonates with next year's campus-wide theme, Women's Power, Women's Justice, by investigating women's leadership roles across religious traditions, by hosting interactive experiences that help our students engage with different religious traditions in new and meaningful ways.
Thank you.
We now have 5 minutes for questions from the audience.
Well, thank you. You do great work. I've been on this campus many years, decades, and you've brought together so many parts of it that were missing. And I like what you do. I encourage you to do more. And wow, you lifted my spirits just by this moment. So thank you very much.
I just want to hear from you guys about what, because you're involved in so many things, right? And what it is that drives your passion.
I don't know if it was for
Any of you.
I think, to be perfectly honest, I think being outside drives passion for me, and all the various different identities I represent that are not the majority. So I mean, why do I care about women's rights? Why do I care about religion? Why do I care about LGBTQ rights? All of those things I kind of think conform and drive the passion, because I have to be those things at all times. So I try to be a little active in whatever I'm doing towards those communities.
And to piggyback off of Lisa, I agree, just being different on campus and coming from a background where my identity was never questioned. It was always well known and everybody just was a part of it. And then coming to a campus where people have never seen anyone like me. And so I think just having that motivate me to continue educating the world about who I am and how common people like me and Lisa are.
And for me as a professor, so one of my roles is to connect my students with people who are not the way that have life ways that are not the way that they grew up, religious traditions they're not familiar with. So these interactive, crossroad experiences allow sort of all students. So we don't assume that students who come from a particular tradition know even that much about it. And so they get to explore traditions that are associated with them, and also reach across social barriers that sort of unite or divide people and unite them. So that's what drives me.
I want to say something about the resources this university provides. We wouldn't be able to do these programs unless there was actually an office of the chaplain and, of course, support for registered student organizations and gifts to the university for this very kind of work. And along the way, the last few years, students advocated with Student Senate and FAB to make sure that we were providing funds for students going on alternative spring break trips. And that has made all the difference. And that's why the program is growing, because every year more and more groups can access those funds. That's the institutional commitment that's so important and powerful. It allows us to live out our passions for this work.
You say being different was helpful, but some of us have to work harder at realizing we are different. We're not just part of a majority. We're each unique. And so in any circumstance, we might be the one who's different. Like, I'm a farm boy, or I was the only American when I was in England somewhere. Well, that doesn't sound so different, but they made it different. Or, you know, going on a long trip in a strange place by yourself is a good experience for learning. You learn more, you meet more people, you learn more about them, and you learn more about yourself if you're not with a group that is close to itself. So you being different is important, but it's not isolated just to certain kinds of differences, but all kinds of differences.
Wonderful work, all of you. But Sana and Lisa, in your time here as students, have you seen changes just in your interactions with majority student population? Curiosity, questions?
I don't say this just because I used to work for a lot of it, I think, huge amount of it, comes from what the chapel has done. The services it provides, the space, the physical space of just the basement of the chapel has kind of just become a home to a lot of the social justice groups, a lot of the diversity groups that exist on campus. Things like the insane Merwin grant and what it was able to do for multiple prayer space, what it's going to be able to do moving forward in the next 2 years. Those things are huge. So I think, like a little bit of what you said, had it not been for the funding, had it not been for the resources that the chapel has provided, I don't think the change would have, been accelerated at such a speed. I think a huge portion of whatever I was involved in had directly to do with the chapel was doing for our campus.
And I'm a nursing student, so a lot of my time is spent in the nursing building in Stevenson or in my books, and so I have had a lot of the yeah, or in the hospital, I've had a lot of the support from the school nursing for me. There's been a tremendous amount of change that I've seen, both physically and just the emotional support through faculty, staff, and my peers. People have been more open to asking me questions that they may not have been in the past, and just listening to some of the stories that I encounter, which at one point I didn't have that kind of support, I guess. Just the other day in clinical, a quick story, my patient, 2 days ago in clinical, my patient was like, so are you going to live here after you get married and everything? And I was just like, well, I was born and raised here, so of course. And then he's like, but you're Muslim. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's a religion. And he's like, well, everyone has a religion, so I don't see what's the difference in that. And I was like, so it was a perfect teaching opportunity. I know, I thought it was funny. So just having that support from my peers to be able to hear a funny story like that and realize there are people in the world that just don't know.
Yeah, and I think in student programming too, we've made huge strides in just the events that we've created. Like in my time, we brought back Holy, which was awesome because we now are able to do it every single year in some way or form, because Diwali and Holi are just so crucial to Hindu life and practice, and that we were able to kind of commit as an institution, like we are going to fund this thing every single year. That's huge. So I think immense amounts of progress we've made just in the past 4 years.
Elyse and Sana, we are so lucky to have Rebecca and Elyse, but the thing is that this institution has changed for the better because of the work that the two of you have done.
That's right.
No, thank you.
Okay.
He did.
I time is up.